Hey everybody, welcome to another Cricut tutorial. Today we are going to learn how to do print and cut. Super fun, really good way to use some of those projects that maybe have a lot of shading or a lot more color. So I'm going to start this from the beginning. What I did was I went on Google and I found watercolor flowers that I really like. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to click upload. And then I'm going to browse for my image in my Cricut folder. And I know I called them flowers and I scrolled way too far down. Here they are, flowers. Now this one, being that it has so many colors and so many shades, you want to pick complex, which is down here towards the bottom. Get rid of that so you can see a little more screen. So you're going to pick complex and we're going to go ahead and hit continue. Now in order for this to do a print and cut, we need to still remove the background negative space. This one should be relatively easy because this is set up already as a print and cut, but you may need to, in some of your other selections that you want to do, you may actually need to do a little more cleaning. But we're going to just do this with the magic wand tool, and we're just going to click once on this background, and we're just sort of going to do a quick look around and see if there's any other parts that maybe didn't erase that should have. I see this little spot. I'm going to leave that just because there are other little spots in the flowers which we want to leave. So this one, like I said, this one's going to be really easy to do, and it just gives you an introduction as to what print and cut really is. So we're going to go ahead and click continue. Now, normally I tell you guys we always want to save this side. We always want to save the right gray side. But with a print and cut, you don't. You absolutely want to save this colored side on the left. So we're going to go ahead and click save. And I will say the print and cuts take a little bit longer to save in Design Space. I think it's just because it's a more complex image with more colors. It's just Design Space can be a little bit finicky with a lot of these colored items. So we're going to go ahead and click our image in our recent uploads, insert the image. And it may take a minute. Again, Design Space has its moments where it's a little bit slow. But again, it's because it's such a colorful piece. So I want to show you a couple things, and I see this a lot in our groups on Facebook where people ask, why can't I change the color? It's not cutting. It's because you have it set to a print then cut. You'll see over here, there's a little printer icon, and there's this little slash through the color selection. If you click on the printer icon, you can change it to cut, but it's going to do that where it turns it all gray. We don't want it to do that. We want it print. Now for some reason, and I wanted to show you this because if you'd make a mistake, it's going to do this. You're going to have to go back in and reinsert your image because for whatever reason, and it's just a Design Space flaw, if you go back to print, it leaves it all gray. I wanted to show you that because I've had a few people question, well, why did my project turn gray? And so all you have to do if that happens, if you make a mistake, close your project, click on your upload, go back to your flowers, and reinsert the image. Not the end of the world, but I wanted to make sure you all saw how that happens. So now with our print and cut, there's only certain size that you can do based on how big your printer prints, which everybody's is pretty much an 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to make these probably as big as I can go, as big as it will let me. And I'm actually going to make it really big so that we can see, and it'll show us, it'll actually yell at me and tell me that I cannot do it. So I've made mine 11.5 by 7, almost 8 inches. So I'm going to click make it so you guys can see. It's going to yell at us. It's going to tell us, I'm sorry, but your image is just too large, which is fine. So it says, please reduce the size to less than 6.25 by 7.75. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I know that it can be 9.25 by 6. But now you'll see, here's the other thing, and I want to show you this too, because if you notice, our image is actually longer than it is wide. If you would like to make this image just a little bit bigger than the parameters, take this little swirly tool and just turn your image so that it's actually longer than it is wide. And you'll see that you're going to be able to actually make them significantly larger because it's going to let you print that much bigger. It's just one of those little tricks with your printer that you can do. It all just depends on your image and what it's going to allow. This one, and it just, like I said, it just depends on your image. Sometimes you can leave it the right way and it'll print it, you know, just the large size that you want it. But sometimes with these longer ones with lots of, you know, different images, it won't. But you'll see how it sets it up on my paper where it's actually taking up quite a bit of my paper. A lot of times what I do, I like to look at it on here and just see if I can squeak out a little bit more if I want these. I kind of want these kind of big. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel my print, and I'm going to make them a little bit bigger and see how big it's actually going to let me make these. That's probably as big as it's going to let me go. So that's going to be pretty large, which is awesome. So I'm going to show you what it does here on the screen, and then I'll take you over to the printer and we'll get to watch it print it. So what it's going to do is it's going to say print images on a printer of your choice. We're going to hit send to printer. And I'll show you what it says here as soon as it decides it wants to send it. Again, these images are a little bit slow. So it shows you again on your screen your images. The one thing I want to point out to you guys is this bleed. It's right here. We use this a lot when we do our knockout fonts, and you can use it on your pictures depending on how you want them to look. I don't want these to be all blobby like they are. I want those clean, crisp lines that it has. So I'm going to turn bleed off, and you'll notice they get much crisper. If you leave bleed on, you get kind of a more of a blobby coloring, which if that's what you want, that's fine, but it is going to distort your photo. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one. We're going to go ahead and print, and I will show you it printing on the printer, and then we will show you cutting and all the fun stuff that the Cricut does. Okay, so now that we are ready to cut, we'll see our screen here, and it does say, it shows you your printer. Now I do want to show you something here when you click print. I'm going to make sure that bleeds off. It will send to your printer, but it is going to take a moment or two, again, just because Design Space isn't real quick when it comes to like these super multicolored. So what you're going to do is put your printable vinyl in your printer. I have a Canon Pixma MG3022. It works really well. It's pretty quick, it's really fast, but the one thing I want to make sure you guys do is make sure you put your printable vinyl in the right way. I have Cricut brand, and I'll show you on this other sheet. This is the back, because it's got the grid on it, and then the front has just white. Make sure that you know which way it goes into your printer, because if you don't, it will print on the wrong side, and nobody wants that. So we're going to see it come out down here at the bottom. This printer is really nice. It gives us a lot of really bright color. It's pretty quick, which I like. I haven't really had any issues with it as far as performance. It was a Black Friday special, so it was very inexpensive. I actually just set it up finally this past week so that I could give these printables a shot, and let me tell you, I love them. They're so much fun. So as you can see, it's going to come out here, and look at how nice and vibrant those colors are. And it's going to go ahead and push this out for us. So it is a little bit slow, but it is doing a lot of colors. And now you see we have our printable vinyl. The one thing I want to point out are these black lines. We need to keep these black lines, and a lot of people ask, oh, I want to get rid of them. I don't like them. Nobody likes them. But they're so that your Cricut can read where your grid lines are. So what we're going to do is come over here, and we're going to go ahead and put this on our Cricut mat. I really need to clean mine, so please ignore that it's dirty. And what you're going to do is you're just going to stick it on, and I might set you guys down just a moment here so I can stick it on, but here, I'll angle you down. We're going to go ahead and stick this on our mat right here. Nice thing is it has these grid lines, so it will read where your product is, and I'll show you that. So the Cricut's ready to load, so we're just going to go ahead and click load, and I'll move you guys over so you can see. It's going to read our grid lines. We're going to hit the Cricut button, have it ready to go, and what you'll see is it's going to pull it all the way in, and it's going to pull it back all the way out, and then the light is going to turn on, and I'm not sure how well you guys can see that, but what it's doing right now is it's reading those black lines so that it's going to cut all of our colored pictures out correctly rather than get them off-centered or off-kilter a little bit. I've made a couple print and cuts. This is probably my third or fourth. I've messed up a few of them, but it's all the nature of, you know, learning how to use your Cricut. So now that it's read its grid lines, it's going to go back up, and it's going to get ready to cut. So it knows where our pictures are based on where those grid lines are. I will say I have had some issues with it cutting some of these small leaves out, and it doesn't always, for whatever reason, get them exact, and it's kind of annoying. It's one of those things you just have to play with and be okay with it not being like 100% perfect. Just like all of it, the cuts that it does, it cuts in its own desired pattern. So obviously it's not going to cut the order that you kind of sometimes hope it will. So I think this one seems like it wants to cut out all these little leaves first and then move on to the flowers, but now we've got it going with the flowers. So when I come back, you guys will have this all cut out. We'll peel them and I will show you what they all look like. Okay, the Cricut has finished cutting, so we're going to go ahead and peel off our printable vinyl. Just a heads up, when you do put this in, you don't need to select custom or anything for the Cricut brand. You can just select the regular vinyl on your dial for your Explorer Air 2. So here we have it. I'm just going to peel one of these. I'm not actually sure where I'm putting them yet. Let's go with this guy. So what you're going to see is once we peel him off, and I'll just stick him somewhere, is we have our little printed flower. Isn't he cute? And this is going to be how the whole sheet is. So you're going to be able to peel off the little petals, the little leaves, whatever you want, and place them wherever you desire. But it's really, really nice. I think actually I kind of might just put him right there. He's kind of pretty. There we go. So yeah, you can kind of do whatever you want with these. These are not going to be something you could put outside. They're like a matte finish. This would be something you would not want to get wet. These are great for, you know, decorating your notebooks, or you could use them for planners, things like that. But these are definitely not something to put on a cup or a car, nothing like that, unless you know, don't mind that they get ruined in 2 minutes. But please, I ask you to subscribe to my channel. If you guys want to see any more tutorials, let me know below. I'm happy to make them. I really love teaching you guys how to use this really fun craft tool. If you have any questions, let me know.